In my last video on the Ironclad discussing my decision for switching to the Assault, I mentioned partnering the Mole with the Ironclad and teased a future video demonstrating what I do. Well, here we are, so let's talk about it. I'm going to say from the outset that no, the Mole does not fit in the Ironclad. This is not a case where you're carrying it around, so if that's what you're here for, I'll save you the trouble. This will not be for everybody. Living out in the verse is a different play style that won't incorporate all of the fast-minded, I have to be done yesterday type of mindsets. This is for those who like to live out in the verse, stay out in the black longer, carry out operations or deployments over several sessions, maybe several days, or however long you like to stay out and do stuff, or I guess however long the game lets you before something crazy happens, which does absolutely happen, even with yours truly. But this is an experience I've really enjoyed, and there has definitely been interest expressed by those of you in the comments, so I figured we'll go ahead and talk about this. Now, in the interest of keeping this as short and sweet as possible, we got 4 steps for you, and we're just going to run through them. Step 1 is kitting out your mothership. And yes, this means anything that can carry at least 2 other quantum-capable ships. It doesn't have to be the Ironclad, I just think the Ironclad is obviously the best choice here. And I say 2 because I do think it's really important, if you're capable or already have it, that one of these ships is the Golem Ox. It is a pivotal workhorse in my setups with mining in pretty much every vein, and actually most of what I do, that I really can't make this suggestion without talking about the Ox a little bit. It's uniquely positioned here because it can carry a full Mole's load. Even though it's only 64 SU technical cargo space, that's still all 8 bags of the Argo Mole, which is 96 SCU of ore, but the bags are a little funny with how they do their carrying capacity, so you can fit 96 SCU in the 64 grid space. You can fit all 8 bags. The other ship you're going to use later to get your Mole. In my case, that's going to be something like my mining golem or my arrow, whatever I can run back to a station. So depending at what process you're in with setting up your ship, this is where you get your triple R materials, your repair, refuel, rearm stuff if you need them. I would bring a fabricator along just to track blueprints and materials you might need while you're out mining versus having to go back to the station to write down what you need because you're looking for certain things for certain blueprints. Also take time to go down to the refinery and get extra mining modules, even extra mining heads, gadgets, and as many bags as you can fit comfortably on your mothership to stay out longer. And of course, don't forget your food and drink. The goal here is versatility. You get the extra modules, gadgets, and mining heads to be able to build out different loadouts that you can change out in the field and stay out there longer and keep on mining, going after those rocks you really want, instead of having to keep going back to the stations, or if you're out in Pyro, less time that you risk being around other people. That is one of the beauties of this method, is being out in the boonies away from civilization and people, griefers, murder hobos, the like, whatever, and just doing what we love, which is cracking rocks and bringing in that cheddar and maybe making some really cool gear on top of that. All right, step 2, kitting out your Mole. Now, I have an entire Masterclass Mole video that I'm going to shout out here, and I recommend you guys go watch it. Link will be down in the description, and we'll give you awesome insight on how to solo the Mole and have a good time with it. Again, lots of great feedback on that video, so that is going to be the majority of step 2. On top of that, just being able to cram in an ATLS Geo for doing some ground mining with a couple of 2SU straw crates to hold on to your gadgets and gizmos and the actual gems that you mine on planets or moons while you're out there is nice. That way, again, versatility, you can do it all. Hell, from the mothership, if you can even fit a rock on board and just mix up a little bit of how do you do your gem mining if you want to park your mothership planet side or moon side. This segues nicely into step number 3, which is pick your work site. It can be any planet, moon, asteroid system, whether it's the Halo in Stanton or any of the asteroid clusters in Pyro, the areas out in Nyx. Pick your poison. You got so many options. Now, the most important part of this step is going to be making sure you park your mothership somewhere that you can get back to. I know a lot of you have already experienced and commented to me about your mothership disappearing or the identifier moving some crazy 40 gigs away, or your mothership is not where it's supposed to be. Most of the time, it actually is right where you left it. The game is just failing to identify that correctly. Traditionally, one of the go-to ways of just getting around this real quick, regardless of where your ship was to Alt F4. But as a lot of you are currently aware, and if you're not, you're about to find out, Alt F4 has lost its reliability in 4.9. I don't know if it's coming back in 4.10 because we only have 1 shard. So when you Alt F4, there's only 1 shard you can go back to. So you don't have to worry about it dumping you in some other random shard or game client and you end up waking up in a hab instead of in your ship and you're wondering what just happened. One workaround currently is making sure that you join on somebody who's in your friends list. That way you can join on them again to make sure you get back in the right shard. You want to take a peek at the shard name when you first log in, or use the information screen to figure out what shard you're on, like US 010 or EU 040, whatever, to try to get back to that shard if you get in a situation where you've lost your ship or Alt F4 has betrayed you. What I suggest takes a little bit more legwork, but I think in the end, it is going to be the better option for quality of life and your own sanity. And that is to actually utilize points of interest in determining where you park. Now, I'm going to say right away, do not just go to a point of interest and start working there. Do not just go to an OM1 or an OM3 or a derelict outpost on some moon and park and get to it, because you're in a spot that any other player could randomly quantum into, find your stuff, and tamper. That is the last thing any of us want, and usually one of the biggest fears that most people have with doing any sort of mothership process where they're leaving their mothership and wondering what's happening to it. So my method is as follows. Find a point of interest, point to another one that you can see, and head that way for at least 50 kilometers. Ultimately, it's up to you how far you go. Also, depending on how much signature you have. I keep my ships pretty low signature. That way I can drop it down sub 10K EM signature and be pretty much invisible to most people who are flying around. Citizen Cow can even attest to the stealth strategy with how difficult it was for him to actually show up on our group, which was a lot of fun. Also, RIP Shiv. That was crazy. But the idea is, if you know that you went, for example, to Pyro 5 OM2 and pointed your ship at Dudley Daughters, and you directly head toward Dudley Daughters for 50 kilometers, now you know that even if your ship is appearing somewhere random or not showing up where it's supposed to, that if you go to that same OM point at Dudley Daughters and head that direction, your ship will show up when you get close to it. Now, it can be a little tricky if you mess up or forget, so maybe screenshots or notepads will be helpful here. But as long as you remember that spot, and sometimes you can even really iron it out if you're at an OM point over a planet and actually mark down several others, like I did, where I was 52 kilometers from OM1, and then I looked and I made sure that I took down notes that I was 850 for OM3, 900 from OM5, 917 from OM4, and what that did was basically give me a way to sort of triangulate my position to where even if I go the 52 kilometers from OM1 to my destination or to my targeted POI and the ship doesn't show up, I can reference the others and be like, oh, I'm like 50 kilometers off course for some reason, and make those corrections. Now, again, I told you from the beginning, this is going to be a longer-winded method or the longer way to do this, but it is a way to get out of needing to Alt F4 and trying to reduce the amount of chaos that can come into your gaming experience here, because we've all known how Star Citizen can just flip on a dime and end our session with something crazy. These are the actual methods in the way that I play, whether it's PTU or live. I am always kind of just living out in the verse doing it this way, but I'm always mixing up where I go. One session I might be parked at OM3 around Ignis, next session I'm parked around OM4 on Pyro 5, and I'm always pointing to different points of interest too, because around Pyro 5, the main planet, you can see all of the points of interest around you. And what I mean are all the different stations, from Stanton Gateway to, Planet Terminus, Bloom, Dudley Daughters, Rat's Nest, all these stations. So as long as you just remember your order of operation, which is go to OM1 of whatever planet, and then point to this other place, and then head 40 to 60 kilometers that way, that's where I'm parked. I hope I explained that in a way that makes sense. And let me know down in the comments if this is a method that you pick up or try or what you think of it. Now, finally, we got step 4, which is get your mole. Yes, a lot of you can just backspace, and I know a lot of you will. That's your choice. You can call it roleplay, you can call it being obsessed with immersion or whatever. This is why I have my second quantum capable ship. So I've arrived at my parking spot. I'm in orbit above a deer, and I'm a mere 4 gigs from Gaslight, so this is a super quick jump. Ideally, I have my Ox and my other Golem or my Arrow with me as well, but in this video, as you can see, we've got our Pitbull and our Golem Ox, as well as no bags on board, and that's mostly because I was broke in the PTU, which we rectify later. All that said, we hop in the Ox, and we quantum over to Gaslight real quick to grab the mole. This is one of the reasons that working around Pyro 5 and Gaslight is my favorite area in Pyro, and even with the craziness going on with Ashland and Chala and the PvP and stuff, it is very easy to stay off-grid, out of sight, and away from the chaos. If you're playing in a way that players are finding you, there is something that you are doing wrong. And let me know in the comments, because maybe we can talk about it. I can address it in a future video and help people out, help people figure out those extra little steps, ways to avoid being spotted. Most of this process for this partnership mothership strategy here is already giving you the tools you need to avoid people. So once we've landed, we got our mole, it's time to go out and go mine. We can rendezvous with the main ship to transfer whatever we need, like we do here, where I'm putting the Geo and the 2SU Stroll crate on board, and then I head out to start cracking rocks, and we find a lot of good stuff. I find some really high quality 800s and high 700s corundum and a bunch of recite, and I already know I only got about 9k left in the bank. So I'm not even totally sure that I'm going to be able to refine this stuff, but that is a problem for later. Another great thing about this mothership life is that if I need to, I can just rendezvous with the Ironclad, and then I can go run a merc mission real quick to somewhere locally around Pyro 5. I can whip out the Pit Bull to do a little space combat mission and totally eradicate whatever NPC ships are around me. Or I can take it into an asteroid base doing a deep space hit, or down to a planet doing a Kill the King mission and make anywhere from 30 to 65k right there. Plenty of money for the refinery work order, and then the ore sales alone from selling the stuff I don't refine will at that point net me positive, and I won't have any more issues. That is basically what we do here, minus the need to do the merc work, because after we finish filling up the mole, we pull the bags off and actually set them onto the golem, which, again, a full moles load. So the golem actually carries 96 SCU of ore, thanks to the way bags are. We're able to run this back to Nyx Gateway, which is my preferred refinery because of just proximity where we're at. And I have just enough money, as long as I do the Farron exchange, to go ahead and hit the refinery order on the high quality stuff and then make almost 700k selling off the ore, which gives us the money we need to go buy more stuff. So we get more Saber gadgets, we get 3 moles worth of Argo bags that we can actually just leave on the ship, which just extends our ability to stay out mining even longer. And ultimately, if you really enjoy the mining and crafting game loop, especially with Mothership scenarios like this, you can really start to generate some momentum with the kinds of materials you're bringing in, the sheer volumes you're bringing in. Now, for fun here, I could have taken the Ox back, but hey, I just got 24 bags, so why don't we bust out the whole B, right? We'll get it all loaded up and then go rendezvous with the Ironclad, drop it all off, and keep this party rolling. Now, one last thing I'll address real quick. If you're wanting to like change positions, like say you want to go somewhere else, granted, you could pretty much take the mole anywhere and then just come back to your mothership wherever it is parked. But if you really wanted to move the whole operation, like you wanted to put your mothership down on a planet, it really isn't that hard. You would just take your mothership back to that nearest station, like Gaslight, for example, and then I would onload the ship that I used to go get my mole, like my Ox or my Arrow, and then fly the Ironclad out with that ship acting as my shuttle to whatever new site, like somewhere down on a deer. And then I would just take that little ship up to where the mole is, leave it there, grab the mole, come down in the mole, do my mining, and if I want to move again at this point, rinse and repeat. Take the mole back up real quick to the Arrow, take the Arrow back to the Ironclad, move the whole Ironclad to the next work site of choice, use the Arrow, go get the mole, bring the mole back and work. And of course, you don't have to use the Arrow. Any quantum capable ship is fine, whether it's another golem, an Arrow, whatever small thing allows you to carry on your mothership operations. Well, that's really it, guys. This is the method. It's not this crazy magical thing, and for a lot of people, it's probably going to be a bit much or a bit too long-winded for folks, but if it is your style or something that you want to try, or maybe something akin to what you've already been trying, make sure you let me know down below. I can't wait to hear about it. Outside of that, once 410 drops, I do have plans to go into a deep dive masterclass style video on the actual golem itself, similar to what I did for the mole. So I look forward to doing that, especially since we're going to have modules back on the Pitman head again, which is going to be a huge game changer since 4.9 really wrecked the golem for the most of it. And sure, I heard about the workaround with crafting a new head and putting modules on and all that, but at least we're close to 410 and we won't have to worry about that anymore. Thank you so much for your time, everybody. I hope you enjoyed the video. I will catch you out in the verse. Take care.